Hey everybody, this is Ari from Literary Gladiators, and today I've got a special book review for you guys again. This is the fourth episode I'm going to be doing in my Agatha Christie Poirot series. I know I've done a couple episodes so far, including Death in the Clouds and the ABC Murders and a couple others. So today I'm going to be going over a novel I finished reading recently, and I thought was really well construed and put together by Christie. It was one of the few books where it kind of pointed you in one direction and it took you in another. Now, this is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to be giving away who did it or what. It is more designed to get you to read the book because it's such an interesting book. This is The Hollow by Agatha Christie. I will read the back of the book so you have an idea of what the book is about. Death is no laughing matter, especially not at a lunch party at an English country house. Hercule Poirot finds it disagreeable enough to take his aperitif in a windswept autumnal garden. They use complicated words, there's no need for that. But his host and hostess add to his displeasure by staging a murder beside the swimming pool, and Poirot finds it annoying, amateurish, and distasteful. The handsome young man artistically lying at the pool's edge, the middle-aged woman with a revolver, the red paint dripping into the water. It was really too much. He was still searching for an appropriate comment when the shock of reality struck like a physical blow, for what he was looking down at was, if not a dead, at least a dying man. So basically what happens in this book is that they invite Poirot, knowing he's a detective, over for a party. At some point, not during the party, but later on, John Christo, he gets murdered by the poolside. When Poirot arrives, his wife is not a great egg out of the box, so to say, but she's like a black sheep, kind of. She has a gun in her hand. There's a woman, a mistress of this guy who died, who is there as well, plus the brother and the people who run the house. There's a bunch of different suspects that start materializing. They initially said it was, let's play murder, we have to come up with a crime. Poirot has to solve it, but it actually turns out that John Christo was dead. To try and figure out who does this, you really need to read this book. If you are someone who skips pages in books, you can't read this. It would not be something that would be easy to read if you even miss one detail. While that's a bad thing, it's also a good thing, because it means that you're so involved in the book. Agatha Christie really put a lot of effort into this book, but perhaps she put a little too much effort. Anyone who reads this book and doesn't pay attention to one thing in it is going to be a little lost. Overall, though, it's really a fascinating mystery. The plot twist is just as crazy as you think. A lot of it has to do with ordinary lifestyle and protection, and how people treat other people in certain situations, and old affairs, love affairs. John Christo was very much a person who, had a past, and, everyone in this story was hiding something. It's just like an ordinary Agatha Christie, but it's just the way that the plot is presented is very different. It's not quite what you expect, and that's what's great about The Hollow. It's not what you expect. Most Agatha Christie's, you can kind of figure out who it's going to be based off of her writing style about 3/4 of the way through the book. I'll tell you what, this one had me... It didn't have me stumped, but it had me thinking, in a different direction. It had me laterally thinking instead of trying and figure out the actual person directly. So The Hollow is a good Agatha Christie to read if you are expertly versed in Agatha Christie. There are simpler ones to read if you are just starting out, like the ABC Murders is pretty good. Death in the Clouds is a pretty simple one. I would actually start with Death in the Clouds. It's a very simple line. And Then There Were None is pretty much a standalone. It's still relatively simple. This one, you really need to know how Agatha Christie writes in order to get where she's going with this. It's a standalone, but it's a very strange standalone. It's a lot more complicated than you would expect. Does that mean it's any less good? Absolutely not. It is still an excellent book. I would just say get more versed in Agatha Christie before you read The Hollow. If I were to give this book a rating, 5 stars, half stars permitting. It's tricky because, you know, I have to do this off my opinion because I've been reading Agatha Christie for years and I know what her nuances are, but for a new person, it's going to be a different grade. I would give it probably 3.5 or 4 out of 5. I think, though, like I said, it's going to be complicated for someone, not unreadable, but it will be a little bit more complicated for someone who's never read Christie. It's not a typical Christie mystery. It's a little different. The ending is very different. And like I said, I'm not going to spoil it. It's a new experience. And when I read it, it was very different from what I was expecting it to be, but it was still good. I will give it a solid 4 out of 5. I know I said 3.5, but I'm going to give it 4. After all, it's my review. I can give it whatever I want. Anyway, if you're interested in reading The Hollow, you can probably find it. This is a very old copy. This copy was actually bought in Israel for $3 by my mother. The Bookstop, 6 Yosef Dunuvah Street, Jerusalem. I'm trying to find the copyright date of this particular 1946. So this copy came out in, well, the book came out in 46. I think this version came out in 73. So my mom probably bought it when she was living in Israel in 77, 78. I'm guessing that's when she bought it. But you can probably find it at your local bookstore. You can go to the Book Garden, support them. Go support the Book Garden. Go support your local bookstores, especially during this time of uncertainty that we have here in the quarantine. Donate your books. Go to your bookstores if they're open. If they're not open, you know, make sure you're keeping in mind of them because they're really important. It's a shout out. Keep those bookstores open. Anyway, I'm Ari Scans, and I will see you guys next time for another review. For now, keep reading. I'm watching you. You better keep reading.